TopVelocity.net, 3x pitch BioMetrics here of Casey Greenlee from the 3x Velocity Camp. We're going to take him through his delivery. First, looking at his kinematic sequence. Kinematic sequence is our way to understand how well the kinetic chain is being used to transfer energy. Obviously, we ideally want energy moving up the chain, ground up. We're looking at rotation here. So we're going to first look for hip rotation. When does hip rotation begin, and is it start before the upper body movements? What drives hip rotation of the leg movements? The extension of the legs, the ground force of the legs, the rotation of the femurs. And we can see the red line is the hip rotation, and we can see it slowly climbs, and then the green line and the blue line takes off in front of it. So the blue and green line is the glove and trunk. We don't want that going first. You can see the front foot hasn't landed yet. When the front foot lands about right here, then we want to go into upper body rotation. What that does is it gives us all the stride to build momentum and then sequence and drive hip rotation to start the transfer of that energy up. So the hips are starting right here, but they're not peaking until late, which is because they're all going together with the trunk and upper body. So more than likely it's this front leg swinging out, causing everything to want to fly open, specifically upper body. So he needs to work to stay closed front side and then not allow glove and trunk to start pulling before front foot strike. And then that gives him time to sit and drive through the back leg and really power hip rotation. But you can see everything is going together. If we look at, I say, a hip line, shoulder line tool and go from the top, we can see that these two lines were separated here, but they sync up, and then the trunk gets way ahead really early. So it's really like a negative amount of hip to shoulder separation by the time the trunk squares up. So ultimately in the sequencing, you'd see the hip, say the hips would peak here. You see the green line or the red line start to hump up. And then as you got to front foot strike right here, then you'd see the blue and green line start to hump up. And then out here somewhere you'd see the yellow line, which is the throwing arm. And we'd have a perfect kind of wave of energy moving up. And that needs to be worked on through our training drills to enhance hip to shoulder separation, which really starts to segment and separate each hump there to create a better sequence. So next we can look at shoulder orientation. We can see coming out of leg lift, shoulder orientation is very ipsilateral, so the trunks are leaning forward. We need to get the trunk up and vertical. We can't lean over our feet like that, because then we're going to try to correct and throw our trunk back really hard into shoulder rotation. And the trunk doesn't overcorrect too far. I mean, it still is underneath or less than 20 degrees in contralateral to glove side. But because it was so far in ipsilateral, that ipsilateral to contralateral movement really shows there's just more of the trunk trying to rotate to create arm speeds or ball speeds. So we ultimately want to keep the trunk vertical and really focus on driving more forward trunk out of hip to shoulder separation. You can see the forward trunk position is only 19 degrees. We should be somewhere like 45 degrees going into pitch release. And also, too, the back leg goes into rotation at a good time, but the front leg is a little too far out, so it's probably driving a lot of that rotation. And then you can see in the back leg rotation, there's not a lot of back leg drive or extension. We could even say that's more of a collapsing leg. And you can see the hip rotation doesn't really drive with the back leg as the back leg goes into internal rotation. Also, too, at front foot strike, you can see the front leg doesn't even extend back either. So it's a lot of rotation here. What it is the front leg flying open, back leg rotating in, trunk pulling early, and at front foot strike is here. You can see glove sides tucked, so that would be considered early trunk rotation. And then everything continues to rotate and finish early in a more vertical trunk position at pitch release. So really embracing leg drives, learning leg drives is going to be key for Casey here, trying to really get more power out of the back leg, delay the front leg from flying open, not allowing the glove side to tuck early, and enhance hip to shoulder separation as much as he possibly can. That's really going to be the key.